Welcome back to And Just Like Crap, a review and recap of Sex and the City revival series And Just Like That, in which I try to figure out what we could have possibly done to Michael Patrick King to deserve this. This episode heavily features the youngest Shaw spawn, Wyatt, who I hate with every fibre of my being. So, take a wild guess how this is gonna go. Grab your bags of unused medication and let's get into it. After being metaphorically drop-kicked into Aiden's Virginia guest house under cover of darkness at the end of the last episode, Carrie spends the next day in Virginia trying to get to know the world's worst teenager, Wyatt, better. And boy howdy does she. But before we get to that, I do just want to call out the moment where Carrie rides an ATV to a boutique, notably and unexpectedly without committing vehicular homicide, and roasts its sister wives' style. A bold position, I thought, for someone who veers wildly between fashion icon and looking like someone rolled her through the offcuts from a Project Runway challenge.
Make it work.
Anyway, Wyatt really plays a blinder this episode, even by his own already lofty standards. He's a character devised to elicit not one shred of empathy, and I suppose I have to give the show its flowers for doing such an effective job of making me wish he'd fall under a combine harvester. In a nutshell, Wyatt is revealed to be a significantly bigger dumpster fire than Carrie thought. But what's apparent to us as viewers, though evidently not to Carrie as the one experiencing it firsthand, is why things are as bad as they are. And it's Aiden. Mr. Shaw's stubbornly homebrew treatment plan for a diagnosis of ADHD involves helicopter parenting, restricted screen time, menial labour, and no medication. The effectiveness of which is perfectly demonstrated by Wyatt throwing a fit during family game night, breaking a bunch of windows with a pitchfork, and fleeing into the darkness like Cindy from Scary Movie. Now, I'm not a doctor, but that's a bad sign, right? Aiden's parenting skills aren't entirely non-existent. Middle child Homer, for example, despite being cursed at birth with a name that practically guarantees bullying, is a deliberately written ray of counterbalancing sunshine. Turns out the writers do know how to script tolerable teenagers. But, if you ask me, Aiden is the one messing up his youngest and, in the process, his revived relationship with Carrie. Quite the turnaround from the old Sex and the City days when he was blameless collateral in her maelstrom of emotional immaturity. And it's on that score that the show then decides to do something unprecedented. Carrie addresses her own behaviour and makes a healthy choice in someone else's best interests. See, whinging on the internet works. Eventually, she acknowledges that Aiden really does need to stay in Virginia to fix his f***ed up family, and that she's been playing games because she didn't believe how bad it was. Like Aiden, I did think we were about to get an overdue third breakup, but alas, instead they agree to go back to their vague 5-year break. Which, hopefully, frees us up for a decent alternative to come her way in the following episodes. She's gonna end up with Aiden eventually, of course, but I want to see Adam the Landscaper with his shirt off and she's the quickest route to it. What? I've got to get some kind of reward for watching this thing, surely. Miranda starts the episode being unexpectedly ambushed in bed by a pussy, which YouTube obligates me to explain to you means an actual cat. Spoil sports. She's still fannying about over BBC producer and prospective girlfriend Joy, which she explains to Carrie while she stress eats what I'm choosing to believe is a giant block of cheese. Joy has invited Ms. Hobbs for another TV interview, which is where And Just Like That manages to drag its first genuine laugh out of me this season. While attempting to put Joy's advice into practice, Miranda chooses an appalling time to pause for breath in the phrase, "the wild countryside," and, not long afterwards, becomes the internet's new favourite meme. Just for the love of numbers, if you count the first time she says it, the all-C word is dropped a total of 23 times in this episode, which automatically makes it my favourite they've ever produced. I'm easily pleased. That might also be a record which is impressive going on a network which once produced Deadwood. Rather than focus on being a global laughingstock or having potentially damaged her newfound career, Miranda's more concerned about whether the whole thing has turned Joy off. So much so that she allows her prospective lover to rock up at Carrie's house with a collection of loud, annoying friends, in possession of a wild mix of real and fake English accents. But then, finding an undeported foreign worker in America these days must be like looking for an unlubricated surface in P. Diddy's house. Ultimately, it turns out that Joy is still interested and they share a first kiss, slightly creepily observed by Carrie on her Ring camera. I'm assuming there's just one at the front door and not, say, in the guest bedroom, because if not, I have grossly underestimated Ms. Bradshaw. And I am very impressed. This week in Who Gives a Shit news, Lisa's talking in her sleep, causing a temporary sleep divorce between she and husband Herbert. Apparently, the stress of choosing a new editor after last week's departure of long-suffering incumbent Grace is the cause. Things are semi-resolved by the arrival of replacement Marion Odin, played by Mechad Brooks, who I know from watching True Blood in the past and several hopefully vivid fantasies I anticipate in the near future. Seema is kicked out of her office and firm by unwelcome new partner and narrative carbuncle Ryan Serhant, who continues to unconvincingly play himself. He might approach tolerable if he put half as much effort into not being this episode's true wild c***. Ms. Patel ends up retreating, setting up what I assume is going to be some form of unsatisfying revenge by season's end. I'll be right here waiting, on the edge of my seat. We discover that Miranda's wildest and most inappropriate fears from last season have come true, when we briefly check back in with son Brady, who we find slicing potatoes in a service industry job during his indefinite and possibly infinite gap year before college, and standing in front of a weekly schedule which, if he's the author, I'd like to impolitely decline. Last time, I begged the show to do something interesting with Charlotte and Harry, and to stop using Harry as a punching bag. Well, it turns out they can only respond to one plea sent out into the universe at a time, and Carrie already used up my credit. Their entire plot this episode revolves around them using Building Link to communicate with the other people in their apartment block. Or at least it starts that way. But it is very quickly revealed to be a wafer-thin vehicle for more of what we've been getting for 3 seasons now. Firstly, Rock is the main advocate of the app due to its promotion of a sense of community. For there is apparently no cause on earth they won't become an activist for and in the process instantly turn me against. F*** community. Let's all live in caves. Secondly, they're enduring a visit from Harry's father Morris, played by the great and very recently departed Harris Yulin. And I'm showing both my age and my geekiness by saying I spent the whole episode hoping he'd reveal himself to be on official business for the Watchers Council. No such luck. Harry, perhaps because he pissed his britches last episode, abruptly begins feeling the icy grip of death on both his shoulder and later, his knob. In a further humiliation, he fails to perform in bed with Charlotte and worries that his body is failing him. Harry has reason to be optimistic though, because it transpires that Morris still has some lead in the old pencil. Not only does Rock discover that he's been hammering Pornhub on his iPad, in a surprisingly small font size, but they reveal that he's spending the night upstairs hammering one of their elderly neighbours too. After what I assume would be a solid half hour of mutually digging through skin folds like they're trying to find the back of an obese elephant's knee. Oh, and Lily casually drops into dinner-time conversation that she's in a poly relationship with new boyfriend Diego, who also has a boyfriend. 50-50 whether that's a throwaway thing or going to cause serious problems down the road. Fingers crossed! This video's question is, what's your most memorable encounter with a neighbour? Nightmare, nosy, or nice? Drop yours in the comments below and the best will peer out from a crack in its curtains next time. Either way, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and as ever, if you can't be good, be crusty.